My name is Kian, a co-founder and CEO of EON.HEALTH. We're developing operating system for health span grounded by science and powered by AI. So we will introduce our platform and the app from this webinar today. Actually, we prepared the video with nice sound, but unfortunately, we just showed up only video. So, but you can enjoy the video later. We will post it for our launching. I wanted to start from this. In 2025 March, on the same day, there is a ironically, there is a two news flow. One is a medical miracle was announced, paralyzed man stands, thanks to the iPSC stem cell technology. But one CEO, the Samsung Electronics executive, died at his daughter's wedding. When we usually talk about health, we always said about the accessibility. But in reality, in his case, he had the best accessibility for the best medicine and medication. And also maybe he got the regular checkup. So what happened in reality is, even though we have noticing lots of amazing scientific advance, in our current life, we still face the breakdown. And also it could be your story as well. I wanted to share my personal story about this. Me as well, I annually got every checkup, over 100 biomarkers, even by body scan and MRI, MRA, but I feel uncomfortable and I feel I'm not normal. But from the regular checkup diagnosis, it was not discovered. Usually the traditional way is just diagnosis normal or sickness. But actually I was in the middle, in gray area. And later on, I got to know that that's exactly the gray area, and the aging science is trying to solve this problem. My case, I was lucky because I got to know that from my network, and I spent money over $2,000, and I studied by myself. But it means it's not accessible for everyone. So from that moment, I have a dream. I wanted to solve this problem with my experiences and expertise. So we are building EON to innovate this problem. So empowering individuals to maximize their functionality and health span with AI and data analytics. You can see this colored graph. Actually, we spend most of our life between normal sickness. So actually, the health is a kind of trajectory instead of normal sickness, white and black. So we wanted to increase the health span through our platform. You want?
Awesome. Very exciting time. Health is changing. We are becoming better at sensing. We are also becoming better at analysis thanks to AI. And finally, and most importantly, we are becoming better at interventions. Think of all these new wonderful miracle drugs, which are becoming more potent, more effective, and safe at the same time. So if we see how this whole era of integrating biology, but also bringing medicine closer and closer to humans is evolving, we can see more or less these 4 epochs marked by different technologies. So initially, it has been more about just getting precise data and making it not just precise, but also cheaper. So think of the Human Genome Project and how exponentially we have dramatically reduced the price of sequencing. And then it's not just about selecting a small set of data, but also increasing the diversity, because human body is complex and has lots of diverse things going on, and we want to capture all of them. So we as in society has been building this capabilities like multi-omics, which allow you to capture different data sets and have a much better understanding of a single cell, but also whole body. And then more recently, which is a very exciting direction, in my opinion, is this algorithmic innovation, where algorithms are becoming smart enough to actually match the capability of what you today go to, for example, a care provider, or even sometimes are outperforming them, especially on benchmarks like medical exams and so. Thanks to machine learning, deep learning, such a capability has been made possible. And we believe now is the time to bring them together. So you have precise data, more diverse data, and you have algorithms that can actually amplify their benefits of all these data points by bringing them together. And we believe this is the problem EON addresses uniquely. How do we integrate all this diverse information? So if you think about this whole data ecosystem, on one hand, it's very exciting, right? Because we are capturing so much data at such a high frequency. But at the same time, there's also this data fatigue, where we have lots of data, but we do not know what exactly to do with it. And only if we had right insights and right discoveries about our own health, then we could effectively use this data to improve our health. And this is what we mean by data-rich, insight-poor scenario, where lots of data is there. It's just that it's fragmented. And what we actually care about is insights, not raw data itself. So the way we try to address this problem is not by just collecting all the data at a single place, but actually connecting different dimensions of these data sets. So first of all, as Kyun explained, how we are targeting this vast gray area, which is dysfunction, but is still not qualified as disease, just because it is, from a traditional medical standpoint, you're still not sick. So healthcare waits for you to get sick, and then they will give you treatment. But dysfunction is not sickness, but at the same time, it is the reason why most of the time we get sick. Second important aspect here is actually building this system so that we integrate all these data points so that we can identify this function and also understands what can improve your function, and then actually connecting them dots, not just collecting it, so that it becomes more integrated. And with this, today we are introducing the EON app, which is the first step towards this operating system vision that creates this interface to the whole context AI engine, which I'll be talking about soon. And at a very high level, we solve three broad problems: holistic insight, self-experimentation, so that you can discover your own body and your own trends, biology, and so on. And finally, you alone are not enough, so you also want to learn from others, especially people like you, and that's where collective learning comes in. So let's actually see what it means and how you can use some of these interesting capabilities.
Could you check your mic on, sir, please?
Oh. Let's see. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Just in case. Sorry.
No worries. And yeah, if you cannot hear the audio, please let us know. Q&A is on. All right. So let's go step back. So first we start with protocol stack. So the way we treat this whole notion of getting insights and also capturing information is by building this operating system through which you can really, in a very flexible manner, track information you want and you care about. And first step towards it is building this, what we call as protocol stack. Protocol stack allows you to, one second, sorry. Let's do it old school way. Protocol stack allows you to quickly capture things you want to do in your day and record it in a quantitative manner. And what I mean by that is you can just check the boxes, as you can see here, but also these items have their meaning associated with it. So if I'm checking, let's say, a nutrition recipe, then it's capturing macronutrients, micronutrients, and so on. If I'm capturing a workout, for example, then it's capturing how much weight I'm lifting, what's the intensity. If I'm capturing something like mindfulness meditation, then it's capturing how much duration I spent. So you have some quantified sense of what information is there. And then we are using it to further connect it with everything else. Speaking of which, we are introducing this functional age. Remember, as Kyun mentioned, that there's this fine line between normal and sick. And what you go from normal to sickness is this notion of dysfunction. In fact, lots of scientists in aging biology define aging itself as a systemic dysfunction. And to capture that notion, we have built this functional age that captures how functional your body is with respect to your chronological timeline. And the way this works is it's using lots of data from your wearable if you have it, but we are also integrating other sources to understand how close you are to a given age group, and then using it to estimate your functional age. As we know, a lot of important metrics that can be already quantified by wearable, for example, your sleep stages, your cardiovascular health, decline or increase with age as part of systemic dysfunction. And that's what we capture through this notion of functional age. So you can check your functional age, where you stand in the given population. For example, in this screenshot, in this video, sorry, my functional age is somewhere around 24, 25. But at the same time, I can also see for some metrics, I'm not in top 5%, top 10% in the population. And that gives me incentive to actually increase that percentage and become, let's say, top 5, top 1, and so on. Furthermore, in functional age, we also capture what metrics actually influence this functional age, because just telling the number is not enough. And the way we do this is by capturing different dimensions of functional age. One of them is recovery. So as you can see here, you can track your sleep, track your recovery, see how you're doing today, but also in a long-term horizon. And what we usually see is some days you can have, for example, bad recovery, but then some days you have good. And what you want to understand overall, let's say on a weekly basis in this case, how you're doing. And in my case, it hasn't been great, let's say, as you can see here. But this is where actually managing the budget of on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis is important, where even if I had bad sleep yesterday, perhaps I can improve it tomorrow, and overall, it's not as bad. Furthermore, we have this AI that allows you to interpret all these things, show you scientific references, publications, so that you understand whatever recommendations are coming, are they actually grounded in science, and what are the implications of that. So connecting your data to insights and then to actual science is what we are solving here. And it's not just about recovery. We have this notion of longevity and 6 pillars of longevity. So from recovery, we go to strength. And here we are tracking how much you're lifting, what's the intensity, how often you're doing it, and what body parts you're targeting. One thing we know about aging is that muscle decline, bone density decline is very rampant and cannot be improved much unless you become very intentful about it. So think of this as your typical workout app, but beyond the workout app, it also allows you to capture what factors influence your lifting capacity. For example, I have found myself that sometimes when I lift weights, especially for my back, I happen to have better REM sleep. And we will show how those connections work. But that's the power of bringing different modalities at a single place. In this case, it's strength. But strength alone is not enough. We also care about cardiovascular health. And that brings us to endurance. And when I say endurance, what I mean is we can track, again, how much you are running, how frequently you're doing it. And we have created a very useful and also intuitive interface where all you have to do is you start the workout and just track the time. You can start your interval training, for example, where you just take this timer, make your run. And once the whole training is over, you will also see insights on which body parts you're targeting, what is the duration, what all zones you were running when you did this exercise. So as you can see, what we are trying to do is bringing lots of different aspects of improving health, improving fitness at the single place, making it intuitive to use it so that people actually track these things. And then finally, we connect them together so that you get this whole holistic view of your health. So as I was saying, you can see body parts, you can see what zones you worked out, and so on. Shout out to Luke Hanuska, who has helped us a lot on making this possible. And I know you're here, Luke, so thank you. And you might be wondering, okay, there are so many features here, and what does it all mean, right? And this is where the analysis engine comes in. So to make sense of all this data, we actually need to identify correlation and connection between all these important metrics. So what we are looking here is this analysis engine that is not just looking at only at your data, but actually your environment. So temperature outside, humidity, your UV index, even air pollution, which we'll be talking about how we found out some interesting patterns. So this whole data engine is looking at all the streams of data, looking at the time series and this combination of different metrics you're tracking. And I want to emphasize all the plots you're seeing, they're actually generated from my variable data, in this case, Fitbit. So you can see there are some pretty strong correlations. Again, correlations are not causation, but they give you a nice hypothesis to start with. And you can not just track correlation from your variable data, but as I was showing, when you do your workout tracking or even nutrition tracking and so on, all these things start connecting together. And then finally, this is a new feature that we have introduced and we are very excited about. So you might be thinking, okay, this is good. This is all my daily lifestyle data. But a big portion of health is your things like blood tests, the physical checkups you do. And because you get a report when you're doing these physical checkups, you can actually upload these reports, as you can see here right now in the demo. And it will process the document. It will analyze all the values, understand what values are outside range, within the range, as you'll see soon. And it will bring all this information contextualized in this interface so that you have this one single unified operating system, which is bringing all this information together. So yes, as we can see, all the values got parsed and they're visible. Also, AI is interpreting that data. In this case, telling me about this potential pre-diabetic condition because of high blood glucose and so on, and giving some interpretations. Also, it's using other information that I have, like what I eat, how good I sleep, what's my workout, and other activities. So because it has all this context, it can actually understand what's going on. When you go to a doctor or when you are just interpreting results from one single document without bringing all this context together, you actually miss important information. And we believe by unifying this interface, you can actually understand what's going on. And then nutrition is what I was talking about before, that because we have made this nutrition tracking easy, where all you have to do is just check the boxes, have your meals ready, already specified there. And as you check these boxes or track new items, it's actually tracking your macro nutrients, micronutrients, and then connecting them to everything else. You can also track your meal time, when you had your first meal, when you had your last meal, and that allows you to capture how long you're fasting, is first meal good for you, what time is good for you, and so on. You can search new items, and all the nutrients get added up. You can scan the barcodes, and again, all the nutrients get added up. So once again, simple and unified interface to bring all information at a single place. And all this allows you to capture information about you. Another important dimension here is information about others, learning from others, sharing with others. That's where we bring the Hive. The concept of Hive is to share the data, share the insights you have learned from your own data. As you can see, here we have Kyun sharing her plot on what insights she discovered. And all these plots are not just screenshots. You can actually share from the app that allows you to transfer this data, again, all with your consent. And you can create your own groups where you share data in a restricted group. So you can imagine creating a WhatsApp group like feature with your family or with the topic you're excited about, for example, in this case, longevity meal, and share all that information. And it won't be visible to anyone else, but in that group, it will be visible. So learning from each other is what also we are solving through Hive. And overall, this solves the problem of getting your insights, connecting it with others, and then all of us improving our health together. So that's our app. And this is just start, not the end. We are very excited to learn from you and get all your feedback so that we can rapidly iterate. And also, we are excited to share a few things that are just around the corner, and we will be launching them soon. And a most important part of what is next is just improving the understanding and analysis of your health data. A lot of this information can be analyzed in so many ways and in so many using powerful capabilities of modern machine learning, but also statistics, bioinformatics, and all those tools. And we are rapidly improving those capabilities. If you start using the product today, you will see every week the analysis understanding is improving rapidly. Beyond that, we are also integrating with other sources of data. We have heard from some of you that you want integration with Epic, MyChart, and so on. We are already working with them to integrate our app and have all the necessary permissions to bring that information. So you can imagine very soon this ecosystem where information not just from your wearable, but other sensors, your environment, your hospital records, your blood tests, your other physical checkups, all coming together. And as I was talking about Hive, this notion of collective learning, where we want to go from digital twin, which is allowing you to capture all your data, to also digital cousins, which are people like you or have data like you. And they may have learned some lessons in their data, which you could actually transfer to your own body. For instance, if someone like me already knows, for them, late meal actually is not that bad and they can still have a good sleep, that also means that's something worth experimenting for myself. So transferring insights by understanding what is similar and what is not similar across people, because each of us are unique and diverse. And at the same time, we also share a lot of important characteristics together. And then finally, and also most importantly, in my opinion, tracking is allowing you to learn new information about yourself. But if you don't incorporate that feedback in your lifestyle, then it does not make a big change. And hence, it's important to give this nudge or reminder and generally a timely feedback of what to do or what can be experimented with and so on. And that's another important dimension that you'll be seeing a lot of improvement on soon. And once again, we are very excited to get your feedback. And with that, I would like to invite our CEO, Kyun, back for discussion. And we are also interested to hear thoughts from you. If you have any questions, any comments, please post it on the Zoom Q&A, and we can discuss some of them. And while you're typing the questions, maybe first we'll hear from Kyun what she has learned from her data and what interesting insights she found out.
Okay. I shared the far left screenshot. It was actually 1.5 years ago, maybe. When we developed this idea, we wanted to test how it works, and it can actually change my behavioral. That was my report, with our MVP products. From this report, I got to know that my last meal actually related to other metrics, really, like resting heart rate. As you guys know, the unit is not correct at the time because it was MVP. But from this report, I recognized that for myself, not Abby, but for myself, mealtime actually impact a lot. I already knew that circadian rhythm is really important, and also mealtime is really crucial role for the circadian rhythm. But when I see my data pattern, actually it changes my behavioral. So I I got to more aware about my body rhythms from that moment. So it was really eye-opening experiences. So I also get some confidence. Okay, we can expand more correlations, more analysis, because we started from the simple combinations. That was our MVP, and we've seen this kind of impact in our real life. And
I want to emphasize, since you mentioned this, right, that it's not just about learning new interesting information. When you actually see it, it starts impacting your behavior much more. Imagine reading an article on, let's say, some influencer blog which is saying, hey, last meal should be done early, it's good for your health. That's one thing, but then actually seeing it in your own data, that's a totally different thing, right?
Yes, yes. And another fun thing is, because it was 1.5 years ago, and I'm keep tracking my meal time, and my optimal meal time currently is 6:30. So I'm really tied into that time, and also so I wanted to you guys experience this kind of opportunity. And also I already did share this graph on our Hive, so you can see there as well. Another fun thing is, people talk like, oh, if you lack of sleep, it will attract you having more sugary, like this kind of food. Oh my god, my data exactly said that. So these days, as you guess, because we are preparing our lunching, so we are so lack of sleep, unfortunately. But because of that, I just craving a lot of sugars and carbs. So oh my god, my data tell that exactly. And also, oh my god, I made a mistake. Oh yeah, the 2 and 3rd screen is same. Oh, sorry, but you can see from Hive my data. And another interesting is the last graph.
Okay, so if you didn't hear, join the app, go to Hive. You'll see lots of interesting correlations from EON.
Yes, and also the last one is actually really interesting. We know that, right? Calorie restriction is good for health, but it's hard, right? But not intended one, unintentionally, because we were crazy busy and I had to skip my meals. Then after a couple of days, maybe 3 4 maybe 1 week data, maybe it tells that if I have lower calorie, actually it has a good impact on my resting heart rate. So oh my god, by accidentally I got to know real my body reaction from not from only the research. Yes.
That's very interesting. And I want to emphasize something else here. So you gave the example of sleep and total carbs, right? And typically we see the narrative is, okay, if you sleep less, you will have more cravings. But what you found out, it's actually deep sleep.
Yes, exactly.
It's not the whole sleep duration.
Yeah.
And I think this precision is also important because we know, for example, for many people, again, you have to find out on your data, is even if you sleep long, but if you sleep late, you won't get enough deep sleep.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then sleeping long is not enough. So this nuanced understanding is also coming just because all this information is being captured.
Oh, I just reminded that my 3rd graph actually was about the REM sleep. So the REM, as you guys know, the REM sleep is related to the cognitive recovery. So for me, maybe you attached your graph. Abby's REM sleep is actually related to your movement, right? But my REM sleep is more correlated with my bedtime. So from Hive, I got to know that, oh my god, Abby's major factor for REM sleep is different from mine. So it's also good learning for me.
Yeah, and if I go to mine, and before I talk about these individual metrics, another thing we need to keep in mind is the gold standard for the medical industry is randomized control trial. But what randomized control trial actually measures is this average effect. So it's not telling that something, a pill or an intervention is going to work for you. It's telling it works for average population. But as we are talking, that the insights she's discovering from her data and I'm discovering from my data are different, that clearly means there is a need to understand individual responses and what works for whom and what moves the needle. So one thing I found out in my data was this notion of correlation between deep sleep and mealtime. And yesterday, if I have a last meal later, then I have a worse or lower duration of deep sleep. Another somewhat counterintuitive thing I found out is whey protein powder in deep sleep. So because we are tracking these metrics through nutrition, we can actually see which individual meals or even micronutrients and so on impact your sleep and so on. And then finally, as Kyun was mentioning, physical activity and REM sleep, that's something I've been finding more and more recently in my data. Another thing here, which is I think very important for people to know, is that these correlations actually require some time to collect, right?
Yeah.
But one thing we do is we capture correlation, let's say just within a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, multiple durations. So you have an understanding, okay, is it actually holding for a long time or not, and so on. And that allows you to even experiment even faster.
I wanted to add
Mhm.
one more thing. Like some people, as you said, oh, in order to see the correlation, you have to have lots of data.
Yeah.
But in reality, our behavior is I wanted to every human being trying to find their optimal, their patterns. But it's hard to remember 2 days ago, 3 days ago, the kinds of that. And also this kind of short-term correlation give a hypothesis to you. So I told you that, oh, my case, oh, maybe let's tag my meal time, let's tag my sleep hours, my bedtime, this kinds of hypothesis. So you can play with this kinds of variety of possibility to fit it with your body. Oh.
So, okay, we have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Both are similar. So, first question is, are there privacy preserving mechanisms to secure the patient data? So maybe before I answer this question, so one thing we have to keep in mind that the way we treat this whole problem is less from a patient-centric perspective, more from preventive perspective. And what I mean by that is, as Kyun was telling before, that we have this regime of sickness and this regime of being healthy, and there is a whole gray area, which medical system today would say, okay, you are not getting any treatment or intervention because you're not sick. But this whole gray area is what we call dysfunction. And most of us, especially once we have left our 20s, it's mostly dysfunction from there. If you look at metrics like bone density, muscle mass, uh, fat percentage, and so on, and these things are accumulating, sleep decline, working memory, so cognition is also declining. So you are not patient in like traditional sense, but at the same time, if you think of aging as dysfunction, then yes, you are. So that was not to sideline the question, but just wanted to bring that term clearly. So yes, privacy is pretty awesome. And what I mean by that is most of your data is being stored and processed on device. So, and it's being stored securely as well. So other apps or any other service cannot access, even touch that information, even if they had consent. And to make that possible, we are bringing all the algorithms on the device. And of course, that requires a lot of architect, engineering, and so on to make sure that you have a smooth experience, but at the same time, a lot of analysis is happening behind the scenes. And because we can do that, we don't have to upload data. So typically, when people talk about privacy, they're referring to this notion, oh, this company will sell the data to someone else. In our case, even we cannot see your data. Yes. It's all everything is on device, unless you decide to share it. So for example, if you share it on Hive, or you are sharing with AI and so on, then it gets outside. And even for AI, we are working on lots of on-device work, which will be launching soon. So we are very excited for that too.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that question about data being secure has been answered. Great question. Okay, another is, what is the biggest change you made in your day after learning these new insights from the app? What do you think, Hugh?
Oh, I more in honestly, 1.5 years ago, I have to test my app, and I need to see the evidence from my, how can I say, behavioral changes. So I started from like this kinds of homework concept. But these days, because we added more new data, new metrics, as I shared, I'm seeing my new patterns. So I'm more enjoying adding my data. So to get the result, because now I understand if I fit it more data, it will give more diverse, more insight analytics for me. So yeah, so now I'm better enjoying to fit in my data, to track with my details. And also another thing is I'm very open. So when I see some data correlation, I can willing to, oh, okay, it could be possible. And recently I learned about the air pollution correlation with my resting heart rate, these kinds of things. So I became more aware around my environment as well, not just my body, and also how I interact with my friends and the environment factors as well.
Yeah. So I think we talked so much about correlation, so we don't want to give this
yeah.
impression that the app is only correlation. So one thing I'll bring up is, I think probably I showed this before. Anyway, so this notion of capturing deviation and trends. So many times, because I'm busy or just working on things late at night and so on, I will think, okay, yesterday I slept more, so it's fine. I can have some budget for today. But what usually happens is I can see the trends or deviations where I'm saying, okay, even though I think I'm doing well, actually there's a trend here where my sleep time or bedtime is actually going up. Or sometimes I'll see my last meal time or my waking up time or other metrics are going up or down. And because there's some noise in my data, as in like today I'm doing something else, tomorrow I'm doing something else. If I do not see that trend, then I would not be able to have this mental model that yes, there are some interesting trends in my data which I should be careful and look into. And same for positive trends also, not just bad ones. For example, recently my resting heart rate has been decreasing, probably thanks to more sunlight in Boston area and circadian rhythm alignment. And that, without seeing the actual trend, I would never be able to guess, just because there's a lot of fluctuation on a daily basis. But what EON does for you is actually it applies all these filtering and smoothness so that you see the long-term trend and also short-term deviation. Okay, so anything else you want to bring up?
Oh, we wanted to as thank you for
Joining us.
joining us, and also we wanted to give you some small perk for the appreciation. So I will send the information to the registered mail after this webinar. And also, if someone cannot access on time live because of holiday, we will share the recording as well. Yes.
Yes, and we really appreciate coming on a holiday. Happy 4th of July if you're in the US. And even if you're not in the US, we are trying to help you take control of your health. So wherever you are, happy Independence Day. Let's start using EON.
Yes, thank you so much.
Cool, thank you. Right?